I bounced around the interior of the car. I really explored the dashboard with my face. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today is a video that I didn't really want to make, but first we'll start off with what's going on in the garage. We still got the 964 over here. That is the crankshaft on the table, so we'll eventually start putting this back together pretty soon because I'm having some issues with a crack in one of the sides of the cases, which kind of sucks. 2002, if you guys haven't seen our latest upload where we ripped the transmission out in 30 minutes, go give that a watch because that was pretty fun. So we'll have the 5-speed going in pretty soon. 911, got it cleaned up for my latest trip where I really got to drive it in the mountains. That was awesome. And the E30 is getting ready for a big road trip coming up soon for the E30 picnic, which should be pretty awesome. But anyways, let's get back to the topic of this video. So remember that X5 I had where we took it off-roading to Uwharrie, which is close to Charlotte, North Carolina. If you guys haven't seen that video, you should check that one out before you continue any further to understand what exactly is going on. How do I say this? I rolled it. I rolled the car real bad. It's really like it's totaled. We'll go outside and have a look at it. So I don't know if you guys remember from the video of where I took it off-roading, but you know, I didn't really mention it in the video, but if you look closely at the car, you'll see all kinds of things that are just horribly wrong with it. Like for example, the front end is a completely different color. The bumper's hanging off. I'll show you guys. We got the key. It's been sitting. I don't drive it anymore. But here she is. So it's a long story of how I rolled it, but we'll start with the damage. So the front end was pretty much completely destroyed. So I did get this nice silver front end at LKQ. I kept the bumper. You know, we put the light bar in, which I think is a very nice touch. You got plenty of rock scratches everywhere. The roof's pretty banged up. Somehow this glass did not break out, so you can see all the scratches on it. And this whole thing was pushed in pretty bad. I actually kicked it out from inside the trunk, which was pretty awesome. Bumper not doing too good. Come around back. The only glass that broke in the crash was the rear glass, because luckily I had all the windows down. So this shattered, so I actually got this whole rear hatch off eBay and then proceeded to dent it, installing it. So it was like the only perfect panel on the body at the time. You see over here, we've got some nice scratches from some rocks, some cracks. That's probably one of the worst spots there. The roof buckled a little bit, which makes it quite difficult to get the, yeah, that's a long story. Anyways, here's the good part though. The car, let's see, I got a bunch of keys in my pocket. There it is. The car actually runs. Like, from the inside, you can't tell it's been rolled. Like, the inside's super nice. But
compensate for all the,
I mean, it's brilliant. So I'll go back to the beginning of how the story all started when I rolled this car. So I bought this car from a used car lot that was here in Raleigh. I was actually looking for a 4.8 IS because those are pretty badass. But I read that they have so many issues with the transmissions, they can't hold the power, and they were only automatics, and so I wasn't even looking for a 3-liter because the manuals only came in 3-liter, and this one popped up at a used car lot. It was 6-speed. I went and drove it, and I was sold. I was like, that's it. So I got the car. I didn't have off-road tires on it at the time. I actually didn't put those on until after I rolled it. So funny story. I rolled the car well over 2 years ago at the time of this video. So the majority of ownership I had the car, it's been crumpled up. I actually had, I'll insert some pictures. I actually had the temporary like paper tags from when I bought the car. They were still on the car at the time that I rolled it. So it was a pretty sad day. I was really bummed out. I parked the car for a long time. And it wasn't for several months later that I finally started piecing together body panels and stuff for it while I figured out what I want to do with it. And right now the car's kind of at a point where the suspension is pretty much shot. The brakes, it needs brakes, it needs all new bushing suspension, you know, which I could do, but it's just kind of like, do I want to drop, you know, $1,500 into a car that looks like this, that's, you know, worth $1,500? I don't know. That's kind of what I'm trying to decide right now. I mean, it runs great. It sounds good. It's so much fun to drive. So it's such a bummer that this happened. But, you know, it's funny. I drove around with it so long, being crumpled up like that, and like, I guess I'm kind of used to people staring at me when I drive my cars because they're always kind of absurd. Like in this car, I kept thinking like, why are these people looking at me? And then I realized, you know, it's because the car looked like it rolled down a mountain. speaking of the mountain, so this is where I was at. My buddy, he had like an expedition. I don't know why he wanted to off-road that. It was his mom's expedition. Sorry, Mark. Well, you weren't really off-roading it. We were just having fun. And so the car was doing great. Like, you turn traction control off, spin all 4 tires, good time. But then there's this really big hill, and I'll try to insert some pictures from like Google Maps because you can see it. It was like this big dirt mound, and some AC/DC came on. You know, I got a little carried away, and so I just put it in first gear, launched it, flew up this hill, which was like a really intense. I mean, it was super steep and like sandy. Made it to the top, and what I found out as soon as I got to the top of the hill is, well, if you don't immediately turn right, it literally just drops straight off. So we literally launched the car off this huge dirt mound and proceeded to roll. It did 1 full rotation. Luckily, I had my dog in the back of the car. I took him out before I did it, you know, because I was like, this might be bumpy. He's not going to like that. He doesn't appreciate that kind of driving. I took him out. I had all the windows down. None of us were buckled up. I had my buddy in the passenger seat at the time. So what happened is when we went off the edge of it, the left front end went down first. The car rolled this way, and he ejected from the car, literally flew out the window, walked away without a scratch or anything. I bounced around the interior of the car. I really explored the dashboard with my face. At one point, my head was up on that sun visor, I believe. It all happened so fast. I honestly kind of blacked out. I don't really remember much of it. It was scary. Like, I'd never crashed a car or rolled a car or anything like that. But the car did. Luckily, the windows were down, so none of the glass broke. Or we were unbuckled, luckily. I say luckily. So if the seat belts aren't buckled, then the airbags won't fire. So since we were unbuckled, the airbags didn't go off, which saved the interior, which was nice. Not saying I recommend not wearing a seatbelt, but so we did it, and there's like some guys riding. We were in a rock quarry, like an abandoned rock quarry, which may or may not have been illegal. And there were some guys riding 4-wheelers around. They stopped. They offered to call the police, to which I respectfully immediately declined. So this car does have a clean Carfax, which is really funny to me. But so the car landed back on 4 wheels. It popped 3 of the tires, I think. It like popped one and like tore one of them off, so all the air was out of the tires. The car started back up though and ran. So, you know, I'm freaking out. There's so much adrenaline going on. I go back to my buddy's house and we try to get some of his wheels off the 7 Series to fit, but they were too small. So then I eventually make it to this parking lot, and I take all 3 of the wheels off that are flat, take them back to my house, and like pick the rocks out and like seat them back on the rim and fill them up with air, and drove the car home. And yeah, that was the end of the story. So, you know, it's a bummer it happened to the car, but it is what it is. I made the best of it. I proceeded to put like 20,000 miles in the car since then because it's all cosmetic. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm just kind of deciding what I want to do with it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Hopefully this was somewhat entertaining as usual to see my failures. And I'm going to decide what I'm going to do with this car. We'll see you guys next time.